Hello, everyone. This is Catina Morrison, and this is the Inflamed Sisters Thriving podcast. The Inflamed Sisters Thriving podcast is a safe space created to guide women living with chronic illnesses to their best quality life. It's created to help you to uncover your purpose by doing what you were meant to do, move in power by learning to advocate for yourself, and achieve strategic growth in your health, career, and business. You will learn how to stop hiding and start thriving. We will educate, inspire, and motivate you as we show you Inflamed Sisters thrive together always. And that being said, I'm your host, Catina Morrison, a registered nurse and a chronic illness coach, as well as business consultant. And I enjoy sharing the journeys and stories of others who are impacting the lives of others to improve their health, career, and business. And one of these amazing people is the lovely Stephanie Burke. Hello, Stephanie. How are you doing today?
Hello. I am doing amazing. Just so happy to be here.
I'm glad at that. And the reason I had you on this show is because, first of all, actually, let you do this. Could you introduce yourself?
Okay, so my name is Stephanie Burke. I'm a certified life and accountability coach. I help first generation change makers. That's the first people in their family, in their career, in their friend circle to do something that they've never done before. So, whether it be graduating from college, whether it be starting a new business, or whether it be living with a chronic illness and doing it successfully, I help people who feel like they're alone figure out exactly who they are so that they can show up in the world with authority. I help them become purposeful, powerful, and positioned so that they can really shine their light and be the person that they were always meant to be. So I know that was a
Wow.
lot.
No, it wasn't a lot. It was perfect. You said, what was it? Confident, purpose, and purposeful.
Purposeful, powerful, and positioned.
Oh, the three P's, sis.
Yes,
Come through
yes,
with that.
yes, yes.
We've got to learn more about these three P's. What made you what led you to use those three P's to drive what you do to help your clients, and what's a major part of your business?
So to be honest with you, when I first started coaching, I was just out here and I was like, I do everything because I'm amazing and I can help everyone else be amazing. And then as I started to look at how I actually help my clients, the more I got clients, the more I started seeing a pattern in what it is that the people that I work with need. And those were the three things I was writing them down and I was looking for themes. And one of the things that I noticed is that as adults, we have fallen into this idea that we have to be a certain way, right? So there are
Mhm.
things that we once loved to do. There were things that as a kid we said we wanted to do. And as adults, we have this notion that, well, maybe that's just not possible. Or maybe I'm too old to think that I can do this or to want to do this. And so I focus on helping people find their purpose, the reason why you were put here, what it is that you do that makes you feel like you are amazing or that gives you that feeling of fulfillment. And so that's where the purposeful comes from. Powerful is you have to be in a position to be able to take your power back. So a lot of times we give our power to everything around us instead of holding it in our own hands. So whether it be an illness, whether it be our jobs, whether it be our abilities or what we think we don't have the ability to do, we're constantly giving our power away to other people, to other things, and to other entities. And then when we think about being positioned, the only way that we can make the moves that we want to make is by being in the correct position to do so. So whether that's mentally, emotionally, or physically, I want to make sure that my clients are in the right position to be able to step forward, to be able to do the things that they want to do, and to be able to shine. So we get purposeful, powerful, and positioned.
Wow. Okay. This is some amazing things that you're doing. And that's actually one of the things that drew me to you. Recently, you were one of the amazing speakers at the Inflamed Sisters Thriving Boss Brunch, and you made an amazing impact as you spoke on those types of subjects, the importance of accountability, importance of confidence. Um, what in your life led you to this place now? Where did it all start for you? In this journey of start becoming an entrepreneur, but also becoming the woman that you are, that became the amazing coach that you are for others.
So this month, in about 15-ish days, will be my 4-year anniversary for my business. And how I got there is I started out with a master. Well, I started my master's with counseling. I wanted to be a counselor. And I had 2 small babies at the time. Me and my husband were relocating from Gainesville to Orlando, Florida, and it was just a lot going on, and I was like, "I can do this. I'm a warrior. I got it. I always do all the things all the time." And then I realized, "You know what, sis? You ain't got it." And so I had 360 hours that I had to do in order to finish off my degree in counseling. And I couldn't do it. I was overwhelmed. I didn't have the time. I didn't have the energy. And so what I did was I switched my major to a master's in education because that's where I was at the time. I was working at a school. I was thinking, I could move up in education and I could really see myself being there long term. Well,
Mm-hmm.
eventually I got to the point where I hated it. Like, I woke up and I would literally be sitting in the parking lot of my job crying, thinking, "Lord, how did I get here? Like, what is going on?" And I started applying for every job under the sun. And for the first time, that was the first time in my life, not only was I the most educated I had ever been, but it was the first time
Mm-hmm.
in my life that I was putting in job applications for jobs that I wanted, and I wasn't getting
Mm-hmm.
a call back. And I was like, "Well, what is going on here?" Like, I've done all the things. I've done the things that people told me I needed to do in order to be successful, and it just ain't working out. I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so the icing on the cake for me is I went to a interview, and it was at a university, and it was in education, but it was fusing all the things that I loved about education. So I wouldn't be in a classroom. I would be actually working with community partners and bringing together resources. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is me. I can do this with my eyes closed. And I got the interview. I walked in. They asked me about 3 or 4 times, "Am I Stephanie Burke?" And I kept saying, "Yeah." Like, I don't. Why you keep asking me that? And so, eventually, we get through the interview. I felt like I killed the interview. Like, I walked back across, at universities that you can't just pull up to the building that you're interviewing in. I was walking across campus like I was the woman. Like, "Hey, y'all gonna be seeing a lot of me." And eventually, I never really got a call back. So I emailed them and I'm like, "Hey, I interviewed and I just hadn't heard anything back. So I was just checking." And that was when she told me that they went with another candidate. And I was like, that's strange. I killed it. And so I asked her to give me a call. It was also the first time I had done this. I asked her to give me a call and to, maybe tell me what I could have done better or what it was that made them go with someone else. And she gave me the call, but she couldn't tell me why. Like, the entire call, she kept telling me, "You were amazing. You were wonderful. You did all of the things. We were so happy that you came out for this position." And I kept asking, "So why didn't I get it if I was so great?" And she kept saying, "Well, we just found someone that was better aligned." And when I thought about what the position offered, when I thought about my resume, when I thought about my past jobs, I'm like, who could be a better fit than me? Like, not to toot my own horn, but I had done everything that needed to be done to be successful in that space in particular. And so eventually she said, "Well, we just went with someone who better fit the organization." And that was when I realized, oh, okay, it wasn't about what I brought to the table. It wasn't about, my experience. It wasn't about me having the education. It was about how I look and how I talk. And I've always had a little bit of a country twang. But going to a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution, I'd always had in my head that I had to speak a certain way and I had to present a certain way. Before I went to this job, I was so unhappy in where I currently was. Before I went to that interview, I said, "You know what, Lord, I got to be myself." So I gave them all parts of me, including my natural at the time, but it was before I had my locks. I had my natural fro, and it was in like this really big puff on the top of my head. And so I gave them that, and I gave them my regular voice, this voice that y'all hear, not the one that I had created because I knew that, or I felt like that's what I needed in order to be successful. And I think that that was one of the reasons why walking out of that interview, I had felt so proud, is because I had gave them my authentic self and I had killed it in my authenticity. And then after I got off the phone with her, I realized if I was going to be successful, I could not, if I was going to be successful in that space, I could not present in what I was. And that was the moment that I decided maybe I got to create something different for myself. And so I created Power of Potential and I started doing research on what combined education and, the mental health aspect. And I came across coaching and they said, if you're really good at education and you really know your stuff, you might be a good coach. And I said, I think I can do that. And so I took a course and I was like, okay, I can definitely do this. And from that point forward, I've literally been creating the person that you see here today. And so my transition has been a little bit different. There have been things that I've done in different ways that I've grown over the past 4 years, but it's all kind of mounted out to the person that you see before you. So that's why when I say the three P's, purposeful, powerful, and position, the way that we got there is because I realized that that's what I had to do. I had to find my purpose. I had to be able to grab back my power. And I had to position myself in a way in which everyone that I came in contact with knew that this is me and this is who you're going to get. But you're also going to get results because that's also what I do. That's also me. And so
Wow.
that has built me.
That is what a story. I need this to be in a book if it's not already.
So,
You need to write that book as soon as possible. Um, wow. And of course, it has to have the power for potential in it, but it's got to have them three P's somewhere too.
yes.
Um, I love that. Many of us have been in those places where the way that we look, where we come from, our background, our culture, our hair has played a role in how people see us rather than seeing the value in us. That was found in our resumes, that's found in the quality of the person that we are. But it is the society that we live in. Unfortunately, people are impacted by what they see, and rather than really seeing a person at their core and their heart. And I think a lot of what led me to where I am too is trying to be the change that I want to see. So
Yes.
I want to see more people of color, more Black women, being showcased in a way that highlights their potential, and not just their potential, what they are, the value that they have, and how they've overcome those challenges so that it can encourage others to do the same. Oftentimes, what helps people to know that a change is coming and that they're able to do it, more often than not, is actually seeing other people do it.
Mhm.
The problem is we don't often see the transparent stories or the vulnerability that allows people to know that I just didn't pop up and one day this was who I was. I love how you said that this is the woman that you have been creating since
Mhm.
that day. So how do you feel about the woman you're creating, and how do you help others to create that woman that they want to be?
Listen, I always try to tell people a lot of times we feel like it's something that's supposed to happen quickly or something that's supposed to happen overnight. But so many of our habits have been built over years and years and years of building a wall, or years of shielding people out, or years of pretending to be someone that we're not. So to say that we're just going to stop being that person overnight is absolutely ridiculous. So when I say that
Mhm.
I'm creating, I mean still today. Today, I'm not the person that I truly hope that I'm not the person that I'm going to be 5 years from now, because I'm
Mhm.
constantly taking in new things and I'm constantly learning and growing. Even today, even as I help my clients, and I'm always very vulnerable with my clients, and I'm like, look, I've been struggling a little bit today, but I'm showing up for you because I know that this is what you need. And so there are some days where you're going to struggle a little bit too, but you have to continue to show up because showing up is what's going to get you to where you want to be, because it's the habits, it's the small things, the little things, it's the pushing yourself, it's the figuring out who you are. Again, like literally figuring out who you are, because sometimes you have to figure that out, because the person that you've had to be in order to get to this point may not be the person who you want to be moving forward. And it's okay to recognize and to understand the person that I want to be has not been created yet, but it is your responsibility to figure out who that person is, who that woman is, and how do you help her get from where she currently is to where she wants to be. And that's where creating the vision, and that's where figuring out who you are, and that's where finding your purpose comes in.
Wow. So amazing. So this is the thing. You've had this journey that has led you to discover your potential, and you're creating this woman who is also impacting the lives of others, who are able to see their value, their potential, and to position themselves effectively to accomplish their goals. I tell you, like I said, this should be in a book. So what I want to know at this point is, you have, one of the things that you have been doing is connecting with your audience through workshops and
Mhm.
through events and things of that sort. You know, you have an event that's coming up soon. Can you tell us about that, and what you plan to do to help others through that?
Yes. So this will be my first realignment party. At the beginning of this year, I did an alignment party. And so, one of the things that I noticed is that a lot of times when we are creating our goals, and when we're trying to say what we want or the person that we want to become, we choose all of these cookie cutter pictures out of a magazine to create our vision board, or we think about like, oh, I just want a new car, I want a bigger house, or I want to improve my credit, or I want to become a better person. But a lot of times we don't understand, even when we make those goals, the things that have to happen in order for those goals to become a reality. And so, one of the things that I've tried to do with the alignment parties, and now the realignment party will be what's coming up in June, is I help people to one, figure out who they are and what it is that they want, need, and desire, because I feel like before you make your goals, you should figure out and make sure that your goals align with ultimately the person that you want to become. And then once we kind of figure that out, we make a real plan in order to create that person. And so I started this thing in January where we did our vision board, but we did it on a cork board. And so with the cork board, you're able to take the things off as you create them, as your dreams start to become a reality, you're able to check them off. And what I had them do was to put all of the checked off ones on one and this one little corner, and they build it up and stack it up, and they make it look big. But what we did was, in order for them to be able to really see their growth, not only did they say, I want to get the car, they had to figure out, okay, in order for me to get a car, in order for me to get my dream car, what does it take? How much money do I
Mhm.
need? Am I going to finance it? Am I going to pay for it cash? What is it going to look like in terms of me going to a car lot? Do I need to improve my credit first? And so, all of these things that you need to do that lead up to the big goal, we're going to check those things off first, because
Mhm.
a lot of times we choose the big goal, right? And so, let's say the big goal is to buy a house. I may not be able to purchase a house for another year or two. But if I'm doing the small little things that add up to me actually purchasing the house, it puts me in a position to, as I'm going through, even though I can't purchase the house for another year, after 6 months, I still can see the progress that I made. I still can see the things that I've done. I still can see that I'm on track to be able to meet that goal. And it makes me feel good about myself, because the big goal takes time. But those little things that you are doing that adds up to the big goal are the things that are going to keep you inspired. And they're the things that are going to push you to keep accomplishing those little small goals. And so that's what we focus on in the realignment party. That's what we'll be focusing on.
Awesome. So we can expect an alignment party in January of each year and a realignment party in June of each year. So
Yes.
be on the lookout for the information that she has about those events. And I will also be including it in the link in my bio, access to her website and events, etc. Now, one of the things that I'm sure impacts a lot of the people that you serve is the imposter syndrome. And I know it was a battle for me as a person who lives with multiple chronic illnesses and being a Black woman. I have done a lot. I did a lot to achieve my goals. But oftentimes, I was not willing to go outside of my comfort zone because, of course, it was uncomfortable. And on top of it, I always wondered, would my health be able to sustain me? Am I good enough to be able to do these things? I might have the skill set, and everything I've done has just been okay because maybe because I'm smart, maybe by chance or whatever the case is. But we never really take credit for all that we've accomplished. And that's what I like about you. It's because you toot your own horn. I do. I used one of the things I used to say is toot toot beep beep. It's something we should be able to do. It's toot our own horns from time to time because we're not always going to get it from others. But what helped me break that pattern of basically closing myself in a box in reference to how much I could accomplish and achieve was by getting coaching.
Mhm.
I got a business coach that actually, in one session, just knocked my mindset straight out. And then also, there was a book I read, The Mountain Is You, that helped me. So, can you tell me about some of the tools that can help a person who lives with chronic illnesses that can limit them at times of how much energy they have, and can limit them in how much they feel that they can achieve in general? What are some tools that they can use to defeat or to help to reduce the effects of the imposter syndrome?
So one of the things is actually what I was just talking about. I think a lot of times we get so caught up in the big things that we don't realize how many little things we've done that are accomplishments that we don't really count as accomplishments because we feel like, well, it's just something that I do. And
Mhm.
so I always have my clients, and I have a couple of clients with chronic illnesses. I always have them write out what do you think qualified you to be in this space to begin with? What is it about you that made you say, maybe I'll be good at this? Because I guarantee if you think back, not only to the job that you worked at or the career that you had, but just things that you've done in your personal life that have set you up for success. I don't care if you were a stay at home mom for the past 20 years, you successfully ran a household. And if you can successfully control children, honey, you might be a little superstar. But at the
Exactly.
end of the day, it takes you being able to see it and believe it before you can actually start to say it confidently. And so, one of the things that I always do is highlight the things that you've done that show people who you are, because I guarantee you've done more than what you think you've done. And so, a lot of us, we think back to like, oh, maybe this job. And um, as a matter of fact, a great example, I had a client that was saying, well, I've only worked for corporations before, so I don't know that I can actually help people. So she was trying to become a virtual assistant. And I'm like, well, what have you done for the corporation? Oh, well, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. And I'm like, I wonder how much money they made as a result of you doing the things that you did that you think don't matter. And she's like, oh, well, I never thought about it that way. I'm like, yeah, exactly. So if you think about the impact that you've had on other people, whether you think it's big or small, you got to think about what it did for that person. It's small
Mhm.
for you because it comes to you easy. It's small for you because you're used to doing it. It's small for you because it's just something that I did. I was just helping them out. It wasn't that big of a deal to you. There's somebody out there that needs that thing, that's willing to pay for that thing, that is willing to give you everything that they have in order to attain that thing. And all you got to do is be willing to offer it to them. But if you're stuck in the mindset that, well, it's not that big of a deal, then everyone else will take it as not that big of a deal also. And so that's one of the things. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that it was just a wow. I'm processing everything you're saying. I'm gonna be using this, girl. Go
Yes,
ahead.
yes,
On me. Just
yes. And that's one of the things.
uh-huh.
But the other thing is, I do a lot of tooting my own horn now, because what I realized was, in the beginning I didn't, and it was a, well, I'm just being helpful and I'm just helping people out. And then what I realized is, not only was I not tooting my own horn, but the people that I was just helping out, they were going and they were using the advice that I was giving them, and they were doing the things that I was telling them to do, and they were having real life results. But because I was just helping them out, and I was afraid to ask for the testimonial, or I felt like, well, it wasn't that big deal, I just told them what they needed to hear,
Mm-hmm.
it took away from my business in the beginning, and it made me feel like even more of an imposter, because I started saying, well, I can only help people when it's free. When in
Mm-hmm.
reality, honey, I give some of my best advice when you hand me my coins, because then I
Mm-hmm.
feel really good. But because I hadn't put myself in a position to where that was happening, it always felt like, well, I can do it in this arena, but I don't know if I can do it in that arena. And so what I learned was that the imposter syndrome wasn't only hurting me in my business, it was hurting me mentally, it was hurting me emotionally, because one of the things that I naturally do is I'm naturally hard on myself. And so for me, a lot of, especially, I was a high achiever in high school, I was a high achiever in college. I made the dean's list. I went to, a very, very good college, a very prestigious college, a college that a lot of people want to go to. And I was the one that got in. And I've always spent my whole life using my accomplishments as a way to validate me. And what I had to realize was that the accomplishments was a small part of it. The access that people get to me by way of my accomplishments is what makes a difference in people's lives. Anybody can tell you some of the things that I'm telling you, but a lot of times it's the way that I deliver it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
coming from me, and it's me giving my little spin on it or my little twist on it, and it's me being able to tell you how to do it in a way that offers a little bit of tough love, and you know that I love you at the end, but then you are still kind of like, did she just talk to me like that? Because I don't normally let people talk to me like that. That is, just a little part of my superpower, and I feel like it took for me to be able to notice that and appreciate that within myself, for me to be able to give it to other people. And so when it comes to overcoming the imposter syndrome, it's understanding the impact that you have on others by way of you just being who you are, and what it does for other people's lives, even when it's so simple and it's so small to you. I'm just being myself and I'm just doing the things that I'm supposed to do, but those things are going to dramatically impact other people. And it's your responsibility as a good person to be able to give those things to other people as well. So, yeah, I went a lot of directions with that, but
No,
that's
but
what
it
it comes
was
back to.
much necessary, much needed. The things that you covered, because one another book that that I've been reading is The Gap and the Gain, and oftentimes we focus on how far it is to us reaching our goals, rather than how far we've came, and what we've accomplished in the journey. That has made us prepared to be able to go further. And that's what I see in that. And really focusing on those things can help. I often talk to people about presenting themselves as the expert they are, because oftentimes what people do is they won't even talk about their coach, but they will not even talk about the fact their degrees, their
Yeah.
certifications, what qualifies them for it, what they've been through in their journey or experience. And it's like, well, how are people supposed to trust that you're the right guide for them if they don't even know what qualifies you to do that? And that plays a role in the imposter syndrome too, in the sense that we would rather um, not admit what qualifies us for something, and then show up for ourselves in the way that we should so that we can show up for others. So I love it. This has been an amazing conversation. So we've got to dig into this again, sis. What I would like for you to do is tell us how can my audience reach you?
Okay, so you can follow me across all social media platforms at Power of Potential.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of videos. I do a lot of free live trainings, either on Instagram. I do a couple on Zoom as well. And it's at Power of Potential. There are no underscores, there are no dots,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing like that. You guys can also find me on LinkedIn at Stephanie Burke. Um, like I said, I'm always, always, always giving tidbits. And as a matter of fact, I have a mindset workbook, and I will send you the link to that. And if you want to send it to your audience, you can do that as well.
Okay, that sounds good.
It'll be
So
my little
I
gift.
Thank you for the gift. So we will put all of that information into the details for the show. I do appreciate your time and you sharing your amazing journey and story. I wish you much success as you continue in this journey because, sis, all you're going to do is continue to grow and flourish and thrive. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
The
Thank
other
you.
thing, oh, you're welcome. So we heard how we can connect with her. Now, what I want you all to do is to know what I always say. Inflamed sisters, we may be inflamed, but we're still here. And as long as we're here, we might as well thrive together. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And thank you again, Stephanie.
Thank you.